This is ABC 7 News This Morning.
The morning's top headlines on this Monday. Chicago mourns the death of DuSable Museum founder Dr. Margaret Burroughs.
Attorneys for George Ryan in court this morning to try and get his conviction thrown out.
And we wake up to a morning that's practically balmy for November. Good morning. We begin this half hour with a check on the forecast.
And Tracy is in the Weather Center with those details. Good morning, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi there, Jose and Judy. Good morning to you. It's almost humid out there this morning. Looking at the radar, no rain here in the city now, but we do have showers and thunderstorms still west of 39, continuing to move eastward. 61 right now at O'Hare, 62 at Midway, 63 at the lakefront. Your complete forecast up in a few moments. Jose and Judy.
Thank you, Tracy. See you then. At 6:31, former Governor George Ryan's legal team heads to court this morning.
The lawyers will try to get Ryan's conviction thrown out. ABC 7's Jason Knowles is live at the Dirksen Federal Building with more on the attempt. Jason?
Well, good morning. There is a chance that former Governor George Ryan could be released from prison early. His defense is trying to get some of his convictions tossed, but prosecutors obviously are fighting this. It's all because of a recent Supreme Court decision which said the honest services law was unconstitutionally vague. Many of Ryan's convictions were based on that honest services law. Ryan's attorneys also argue that Ryan's wife has lung disease and only a year or two to live. He has served 3 years of a 6.5-year sentence. Prosecutors argue that all of the convictions should stand regardless of what the Supreme Court ruled on honest services. They say the bottom line is they involve bribes, kickbacks, and conspiracy. Ryan's wife, Laura Lynn, may be in court today, but Judy and Jose, Ryan will not be at today's court hearing. It is scheduled for 10 a.m. here at the Dirksen Federal Building. We're live downtown. Jason Knowles, ABC 7 News. Back to both of you.
Okay, Jason, thank you. And today marks a critical deadline for candidates who want to be on the ballot for Chicago mayor.
It is the deadline for filing those nominating petitions. And ABC 7's Jessica D'Onofrio is live at the Board of Elections this morning. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning, Judy and Jose. Well, by the end of the day, we should know all of the people who are going to be running for mayor here in the city of Chicago. They have a 5 o'clock deadline to file their nominating petitions. So now as the race for Chicago mayor heats up, we do know of one candidate who does plan to file a legal challenge against Rahm Emanuel. That challenge involves his residency. Chicago requires candidates to reside in the city for 1 year prior to the election. But city law differs from state election law, which says a candidate cannot lose his or her residency if he or she is absent while on business for the U.S. or the state of Illinois. Rahm Emanuel lived in Washington, D.C. for nearly 2 years while serving as White House Chief of Staff to President Obama.
I was born in the city of Chicago. I was a congressman from the city of Chicago. I've raised my kids here in the city of Chicago. I own a home here in the city of Chicago.
Over the weekend, former Senator Carol Moseley Braun formally announced her candidacy for mayor. She delayed her announcement because the weekend before, Emanuel, Congressman Danny Davis, and State Senator James Meeks made their announcements. She actually submitted her nominating petitions along with most of the other candidates on the first day the election board began accepting them.
They've done just a magnificent job. We've collected over 100,000 petition signatures. 100,000 Chicagoans signed our petition.
We are very proud to turn in over 50,000 signatures in support, thank you, in support of my candidacy to be the next mayor of Chicago.
It's time for a new era, and we're going to be in there pitching to see if we can't hit a home run.
It's time to go to work. It's time for the campaign to really begin to unfold.
State Senator James Meeks plans to file his nominating petitions today. He will be the last one to do so. Again, he has until 5 p.m. today. He says it's not important to him to be last on the February ballot. He says it's just as important as being first. Live is at the City Board of Elections. Jessica D'Onofrio, ABC 7 News. Jose and Judy, back to you.
Okay, Jessica, thank you. And stay with us for an inside look at the race for mayor from our political analyst, Laura Washington. She is coming up later in just a few minutes.
We have a sad loss to report to you this morning. Dr. Margaret Burroughs, the founder of Chicago's DuSable Museum, is being remembered as a trailblazer. She died on Sunday. In the 60s, Dr. Burroughs had a vision and a dream to bring African-American history to Chicago. It first began her South Side home before moving to Washington Park, where the museum was renamed for Chicago's first settler. The DuSable Museum was the first in the country, and today it's the largest museum of black history.
She built what is known as an icon. When I introduce myself to people in the museum world and say, well, DuSable is, they say, don't insult me. Everybody knows who DuSable, what DuSable Museum is.
She was a Renaissance woman. I mean, she knew Paul Robeson, she knew Dr. Du Bois, she knew Dr. King, she knew Harold Washington. She was just a walking piece of history.
Dr. Burroughs did not want a funeral. A public memorial is being planned for after the holidays.
And new this morning, an overnight drug bust results in the seizure of hundreds of marijuana plants. The bust happened at a home in the 7400 block of South Lafayette. Police served a search warrant on the home and say in addition to the live pot plants, officers say they also found marijuana already packaged. No word on any arrests or charges.
Time for us to check weather and traffic on the 6:37, and here's Tracy in the Weather Center. Good morning.
Hi there, Jose and Judy. Very good morning to you. We'll start with a look at the Weather Watcher reports. Jim over in Lowell with a 60-degree temperature. Unbelievable. Kimber in Bourbonnais with 62 degrees said she did have a thunderstorm, kind of a downpour that went through there earlier. Mike in Plainfield with 50, or I'm sorry, that was from Jacob in Yorkville, that 59-degree reading actually. Moving northward, Dory out in Batavia, also 59 degrees. Judy in Lombard, 58, so she hasn't had any rain there. Maureen LaGrange Park, 60. Mary Kay Elmwood Park at 61 degrees. Bob up in Lake Geneva said he had a thunderstorm stroll through there very early this morning. Roger McHenry, cloudy, 51. Marika Lake Zurich, 63. Gina Munderline with 59, as well as Rich in Gurnee. And yes, indeed, we are going to see high temperatures today, up around 67 degrees. Average high today is 44, and the record for today, 69 degrees. 61 currently at O'Hare. We have a south-southwest wind at about 14 miles per hour. 62 Midway, and in Plainfield, 61 degrees out in Sugar Grove. So right now, no rain is falling here in Chicago, but we're starting to see some light rain approaching DeKalb right now, Genoa at this point, and there are some thunderstorms west of that. And so I do anticipate where you see kind of the bright white clouds, that's where we're getting some of those heavier downpours as well as some thunderstorms. And we will see some of those coming in here probably within the next hour far west of Chicago and then moving toward the city a little bit later this morning. But look at this major temperature contrast. We're at 61 here. Bismarck, North Dakota at 6 degrees. Yeah, a single number there. So cluster one of showers and thunderstorms coming through here within the next several hours. And then there will be another developing area of some thunderstorms that rolls through here as this cold front comes through late afternoon, early evening. So we'll time another line of showers and thunderstorms here with our afternoon and evening commute. But this morning, cloudy and mild all day long, and high temperatures today, mid to upper 60s, challenging that record high for the day. Tomorrow, wow, 38 degrees. What a difference. Your weather sketcher of the day today, Zach Reese, is our weather sketcher of the day today from St. John the Evangelist School in Streamwood. Just such an engaging.
That's a nice picture, Zach. Yeah, good. Just a moody picture.
Perfect right now. All the trees pretty much look like that. Yeah.
Great job.
Good job. Leaves falling off, too. Let's check in with Roz now, see what your morning commute's looking like at 6:39.
You know, Jose, I think a lot of folks don't realize that some of the pavement being damp makes it a little slicker than usual. And we have had a few crashes out there. Chopper 7 HD is over the one that we told you about in our last report, inbound on the Eisenhower. It actually is closer to 17th Avenue on the entrance ramp there, involving a couple of vehicles. And we've got state police as well as IDOT. No lanes are blocked at the moment. They've got everything on the shoulder, but it is causing a really heavy delay that extends beyond the tri-state, almost onto the 290 extension at St. Charles. So that will be one of the travel times that's elevated. We'll go through the times for you right now as we go to the maps. The Kennedy is about 28 minutes in, 31 out between O'Hare and downtown. Eden still looks pretty good, just a couple of heavy pockets at the junction. Now the Ike, that's about 30 minutes heading in, and the Stevenson is also a half hour from the tri-state. Inbound Dan Ryan, that is 26 minutes from 95th, and we still have some delays on the Bishop Ford merging into the Ryan. The crash car fire we had on 394 at I-80 has been cleared up, but we're still looking at a little bit of a leftover backup at that location, guys.
Okay, thanks, Roz. It is 6:40, and more passengers take a stand against new security screenings that's sparking fears of long lines at the airport this week. The latest next.
Plus, the campaign to protect young children from cough and cold medicines, whether it is working. We'll check it out.
And a former First Lady suggested Sarah Palin stay in Alaska and away from the White House.
Tracy.
Well, briefly, other stories we're following this morning. Removing cough and cold medicines for very young children from store shelves have resulted in a big decline in emergency room visits for kids with bad reactions to those drugs. That's the good news, according to a study in the journal Pediatrics. However, it shows that some parents continue to give their infants and toddlers those medicines. Also, the Transportation Security Administration says it's working to make new security screening measures as minimally invasive as possible. There's an internet movement urging passengers to opt out of body scans this week to slow security and to prove a point. A list is out this morning, and it ranks the most dangerous cities in the country. It was done by CQ Press based on population figures and crime data compiled by the FBI. St. Louis tops the list. Chicago was not ranked because certain statistics were not available.
Former First Lady Barbara Bush doesn't appear to relish the idea of Sarah Palin in the White House. Mrs. Bush and former President George Bush sat down for an interview with Larry King. He asked about the Tea Party and Palin.
What's your read about Sarah Palin?
Well, I sat next to her once, thought she was beautiful, and I think she's very happy in Alaska, and I hope she'll stay there.
The interview airs tonight on CNN.
It's now 6:44. You won't have to bundle up too much as you step out the door today, but a change is going to come. An update of the weather and traffic next.
Continue 1.3 miles, then bear left on Broadway.
Plus the woman who bosses many of us around once in a while, even though we've never met her. The voice behind your GPS.
Good morning to you. There are showers and thunderstorms approaching the Chicago area right now. Just starting to get some very light rain around DeKalb, but there's a lot of lightning west of there, and this will continue to move eastward over the next 2 to 3 hours. 61 at O'Hare. Expect a high temperature today of 67. Roz?
Our lengthiest delay continues to be on the inbound Eisenhower. We've got a lot of activity off on the shoulder with this earlier crash at 17th. No lanes are blocked, but everybody's staring at it. So your travel time, there's about 33 minutes in from Manheim and Chopper 7 HD. Looking through the haze at the Kennedy, Edens Junction. That Kennedy travel time is up there, too. That's about 32 minutes in each direction between O'Hare and downtown. Judy, back to you.
Thank you, Roz. Metro commuters arriving at Union Station and the Ogilvie Transportation Center will notice some air testing gear on the platforms during the morning and evening rush hours. The equipment will gauge the level of diesel fumes on the platforms. Metro began testing after questions were raised several weeks ago about air quality on the commuter trains and platforms. The test samples are expected to be collected by mid-December.
If you have a GPS in your car, chances are you've already spent hours with an Australian woman's voice. It sounds a lot like this.
Continue 1.3 miles, then bear left on Broadway.
She's that dashboard companion guiding us around when we're lost. And she's Karen Jacobson, also known as GPS Karen. She was enlisted 8 years ago to provide a comforting sound for drivers trying to find their way by Garmin. She recorded thousands of numbers and sentences and syllables. She talked with ABC's Jeremy Hubbard.
Only recorded 4 hours a day. I mean, it was 50 hours of recording over a 3-week period because they wanted me to sound very refreshed and not fatigued in any way.
Only we're supposed to feel fatigued. The money Karen made from Garmin is now being used to launch her singing career. So you may hear on your GPS and on the radio as well.
Really?
Singing, turn left.
Yeah, and how many times I was I can't turn left here. Stop telling me to turn left.
Recalculate your route.
Exactly. It is 6:49 right now. And coming up, the lineup is just about set in the race for Chicago mayor.
More on today's deadline to file petitions and what to expect from the candidates next. We come right back.
Potential candidates are about to get one step closer to the Chicago mayor's office. Today is the deadline to submit nominating petitions to get on the ballot for city elections.
ABC 7 political analyst Laura Washington joins us this morning to take a closer look at that race. Good
Morning,
to see you.
Jose, Judy. How you doing?
Pretty good. How you feeling?
I'm fighting that laryngitis, but I'm feeling great. Thanks.
Oh, good deal. Let's talk about the race and the way it's shaping up. We kind of know the lineup, but now Carol Mosley Brown is officially in. What do you think?
Right. Well, she did a really beautifully spectacular announcement over the weekend at Northern Island with the lake in the back front. And I think her message was, I want to be the mayor for all Chicago. It was interesting, though. She took a real hard shot at Rahm Emanuel right out of the box when she started her speech and she implied he's not really a Chicagoan. He doesn't really understand Chicagoans like I do. That's going to be her message. All the candidates are doing that. They're all trying to position themselves as being the anti-Rahm, which is an interesting high wire to dance, because by saying that, you're acknowledging that Rahm Emanuel is the front runner, but they're saying, I want to be next. I want to be the one to take him on.
Yeah, that's interesting. And in talking about Rahm Emanuel, he's defending his residency once again. Where do we stand on that issue?
Well, it's likely that the residency challenge will be filed this week by Burton Olderson, who is an election attorney for a number of people, and he has been election attorney for James Meeks in the past, but he's saying that this is not about James Meeks. But he will file that this week, and then we'll have to see it. It'll have to go through the court system. It's going to be interesting to watch. Now, Rahm Emanuel claims, his argument is that no matter what he did in Washington, he always intended to be a Chicagoan. He always intended to come back here, and his record will show that. We'll have to see what the judges say.
One of the first issues he's already taking on is the potential or possibility of more police officers on the street, and his idea of using TIF money. Do you think that'll gain any traction?
Well, everyone agrees that we need more cops on the street, given the violence, given all the challenges out there in terms of public safety. Some people say that's not the best use of TIF money, but it's interesting because it really goes against the grain of Mayor Daley's policy. Mayor Daley always wanted to see that money get used for economic development. Essentially, Rahm is talking about putting it back into the budget and using it for basic city services. We need them, so I think he's going to have some challenges from the other candidates on that, and some other ideas they're going to bring to the table.
And Gary Chico, in the race, Mayor Daley actually lashed out at him for what he said about the mayor losing momentum in education reform.
Gary Chico's been pretty critical of the school system and the lack of what he says lack of progress there. That's an interesting position for Gary Chico to be in, because he had been such a long-time ally of the mayor, multiple appointees to the mayor. So it may be the mayor's doing him a favor by distancing himself from Chico, so Chico doesn't look like he's the mayor's guy.
You know, the last few moments we have here, I know you want to reflect on the loss of Dr. Margaret Burroughs from DuSable Museum. What a pioneer.
She was the grande dame of arts, culture, and history in Chicago. But there's some other things about her that, maybe we don't know as much about. She was, not only was she an arts educator, but she went into the prisons and she went to Cook County Jail to educate prisoners about arts. I actually happen to have a piece that was produced by one of her prisoners. She was a huge proponent of Africa. She went to Africa. You can't count how many times she's taken groups to Africa, because she thought it was important for us to understand African-American history, and you have to go back to Africa in order to learn that. She was a huge supporter of the parks. The DuSable Museum was located in Washington Park, and ever since then, she's been a huge advocate. She was on the Park District Board and chairman of the board for many years under several mayors, so that she has just a multiple legacy.
Just intertwined throughout all Chicago history, too.
Irreplaceable.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura. Good to see you.
You too. See you next week.
We'll be back after this.
Well, good morning to you. And yes, indeed, we are starting off with very mild temperatures. Warm and mild day, high of 67 today. We will have about a 2 to 3 hour period this morning where there are some showers and thunderstorms rumbling through. Roz?
Well, right now, though, it's rather calm on the expressways. As we go to the maps, we do have one suburban crash in Buffalo Grove to tell you about at the intersection of Buffalo Grove Road and Deerfield Road. But the expressways, they're between 30 and 35 minutes, all of them, between the Tri-State and downtown. Chopper 7 HD over I-90 to Jane Addams, and that's starting to get a little crowded, approaching Route 53. Judy and Jose.
Alrighty, thanks, Roz. And time for the Morning Mug Club right now. A chance for you to show off your morning mug.
Kathy Durzik of Crest Hill sent us a shot of her granddaughter, Addison. She says she really enjoys her spaghetti. Not sure if that's for her breakfast, so she is a cutie pie. Look at those eyes.
At that. If we show your mug, we will send you one of these Morning Mug Club mugs. You can send pictures through abc7chicago.com, and also you can do it on our Morning Show Facebook page as well.
Suddenly, I want spaghetti. I'm hungry for spaghetti.
I had the same feeling.
Nothing like getting spaghetti all over your face for a little toddler.
My father would have leftover spaghetti with a fried egg on top for breakfast. I wonder if he still does that.
That's a thought.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, let me write that down.
My sister and I would go, ew.
I like that one.
That sounds good, actually.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for being with us. Good Morning America is coming up next.
We'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.